Hey guys, welcome back. So I wanted to do a video on religion specifically. Now I know I'm going to piss a lot of people off because I know there's a lot of religious people, and whenever you bring up this subject, it can get a little hairy. But I definitely want to talk about the fact that religion is on the decline. I think a lot of people are seeing that. I mean, it has raised from the people non-religious from 15% in 2008 to 21% in 2015. So we have, which I know 2 years ago, I'm behind. But more importantly, religion seems to be going away. Now, a little bit about me, just to kind of, get an idea. I am, I guess you could say, like, obsessed with reality. I just want to know what this is, what's going on, what happens when I die, where was I before I was born, do I have a soul, supernatural, psychedelics, dreaming, all this stuff interests me very, very much. And so religion is kind of a pillar to that, because religion claims that they have the truth, the true knowledge of reality. And so my father is a born-again Christian, been a born-again Christian for like over 15 years, and I was once a Christian too, but as I got older and had, really intense psychedelic experiences like mushrooms and LSD, and then, of course, reading the Bible and seeing how the way that people are portraying God isn't really how he's portrayed in the Bible. And I think a lot of times people just go to church, they listen to the sermon, they get the verses, they go home, they reread the verses, they put it to their life, and then that's it. They don't really try and figure out, is this actually true? Is this a real? And I'm going to specifically talk about Christianity only because I'm more versed in Christianity than any other religion. I know a little bit about Islam, but, obviously Christianity I have a lot more information on because it's the country, the country I live in is like the dominant religion. Now, religion seems to run on ignorance. Now, I know I'm gonna piss people off. I understand that, but here's the thing. Just hear me out. Like, for example, before we knew what lightning was, we thought it was Zeus throwing lightning bolts from the sky. Every depiction of heaven is clouds, Like, how convenient, Oh, there's clouds right there. Oh, there's heaven. So religion seems to run on ignorance. It runs on the idea that you don't know how the world works. And religion makes a lot of claims. Specifically Christianity here, they make a lot of claims about the world and about science and all of that. Now, I would put the two issues with the Bible, I would put them in two categories. The easy problems and the hard problems, kind of like philosophy. Easy and the hard. The easy problems are more along the lines of like, supernatural claims, scientific errors, like the earth forming before the sun when we know that's not how it happened. Or even things like the immoral views on homosexuals and witches and stuff like that. Those issues can be dealt with, I think, fairly easily. They're not really hindering the belief. But the hard problems, I would say, are fundamental problems with the structure of the belief. It's not so much the content, but how the belief is structured. So, for example, the example I would use in the hard issues is the God character. So, I gave examples of easy, problems like supernatural claims, stuff like that. But the hard problems, we're talking about, like, the God character himself. Now, whenever you talk to somebody about God, someone who believes in God, tell me about God, they always give you this warm, like, loving, he's so wonderful. He just wants to know you. He's so wonderful. So you get an idea that, God's really loving. I should make a relationship, whatever. But then you read the Bible, and you see things that he does, and things that he says, and things that he commands, and you're just like, this isn't the God that I was told, especially in the Old Testament, which is why a lot of Newer Age Christians take out the Old Testament. They say we don't follow that, even though the Ten Commandments are in there, the Garden of Eden story. I mean, the whole creation story. I mean, you can't just throw it out. But God definitely has more crazy things that he's doing in the Old Testament than in the New Testament. One of them being he is seen constantly, repeatedly, constipation. He is constantly slaughtering people. He's constantly commanding others to kill other people. He's, if you look up Hosea 13:16, he's ripping fetuses out of pregnant women because they idolize the wrong God. Which, by the way, just to kind of go on a tangent, you would think with all the gods that there are, It's like, what a bad job this God is doing. Because if he is the only true God, it should be, like, obvious. Oh, yeah, this God is true, not Hindu or Islam or whatever religion you want to talk about. You know, it's just odd that there's thousands of religions, thousands of people that claim they know the truth. No, what I believe is true. What I was taught as a child is what's true, you know? Because a lot of people, when they get older, they revert back to their old beliefs because it's ingrained in their bones. Like someone like me, who grew up Catholic, went to Catholic church, went to Sunday school, and, you know, eventually kind of went into the Christian, you know, rock band. We're going to rock with Jesus, that sort of atmosphere, which was nice, but I feel like it was more about the community than it was, is this stuff that we're talking about actually true? So God not only does that, he condones slavery, Exodus 21. Now, again, we're going to get people, you're taking it out of context. Do you understand? Slavery was indentured servitude back then. Okay, no, straight up. The definition of slavery, owning another human being. That's it. You are property to somebody else. That is what it means to be a slave. You know, indentured servitude. Oh, you have a debt and you want to pay it off by working in my fields. That's a different thing. I'm talking about owning a human being. The first line of Exodus 21, God says, these are the laws that God gave to Moses for his people. And then it goes on to say how you can own a human being and how you must set him free after 7 years. But there's a loophole. If you can get him to have a wife and kids, the wife and kids are yours forever. They're your property forever. God's totally cool with this. But I definitely want to get your ideas and your comments. I want to talk about this stuff. Now, I do want to talk about the biggest issue. Okay, no, I wanted to show you my mug. God, I would say, this issue I have not seen this issue brought up anywhere, and I think it's a big thorn in the belief of Christianity, and it has to do with God being all-knowing. Now, what does it mean to be all-knowing, right? It's kind of similar to what we have, only we only have the past, and the present is a constant surprise, and we don't know the future. But God, he knows what happened in the past, what's happening in the present, and what will happen in the future. So God knows what will happen before it happens. So take that scenario, take that idea, and apply it to the Adam and Eve story. You have a God who goes up to these two characters and says, hey, I have a tree over here, these two trees, don't eat from them. If you eat from them, you will die, yada, yada. He walks away. Adam and Eve go up to the tree. The serpent, Satan, hey, eat the apple. Oh, God, I'm Eve. I'm eating it. Look at my boobs. That kind of thing, right? Now, this is the important part, before the tree is even in existence, right? As God is conjuring up this test, he already knows they're going to fail. Because he's all-knowing. So you have a God. Man, I really want to test Adam and Eve. All right, what I'll do is I'll put a tree and I'll tell them not to... Oh, wait, they'll eat from it. And he knows Satan's going to come over and tempt them. Yet he goes on with the test anyway. Every time you talk to somebody about Adam and Eve, you know, like, who's to blame for the sin in this world? It's Adam and Eve. They ate the apple. Okay, well, who set the test up? Who set the test up knowing what would happen? It's not a test. There is no test. God knows they're going to eat that apple. He already knows. Before he even walks over to talk to them about it. He already knows, oh, if I tell them Satan's going to do this and they're going to eat from it. Yet he does it anyway. So what does this mean? It means that nobody is to blame for the suffering but God himself, because God set up Adam and Eve. He set them up. He knew they would fail, yet he commenced with the test anyway. He went on with the test anyway, even though he knew they would fail. So it's a problem. It's a problem because it doesn't seem like that would be a moral entity. Somebody who knew that, hey, look, if I do this test, they're going to fail, and all this suffering is going to occur, I'll do it anyway. It doesn't seem like a loving God, you know? Now, I do want to say here, now I know if this video even gets like 3 views, I know I'm going to piss people off, and I don't want to do that. That's not the point of this video. these are issues that I don't really hear brought up too often. I mean, the slavery thing is kind of brought up, but people, I mean, a lot of religious people are really good at just, no, that's not, you don't understand. It was a different time back then. You're taking it out of context. And I always think, who cares if it's out of context? Put it in context. It doesn't matter. It's not going to change what it says. You can own a human being. In other words, you could defend slavery in court with the Bible. I mean, read Exodus 21. Just read it. You could go into court and say, look, God is okay with slavery. He's okay with owning human beings. So I should be able to do this in God's name. And as we know, that's another thing too. Like slavery, it's not like slavery went away because God came down and said, yeah, no more slavery. It's wrong. He didn't write in the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not own a human being. We figured out it was wrong. We as a society, as the younger generations came up and saw what the older generations were doing, and they realized that's not right. You can't just own a human being and beat them and say whatever you want and do whatever you want to them. That's wrong. They don't have any rights. So, 1865, slavery abolished, and not because of God. But you could make the argument that God set up slavery. Now, I've had conversations where people will say, well, you see, God already knew they were going to own people. He already knew it. So that's why he said they could. Because he knew they were going to do it. You might as well just let them do it. That is the most ridiculous bullshit. Because he knows people are going to kill, yet he says, thou shalt not kill. He knows people are going to steal. Thou shalt not steal. Where's thou shalt not own another human being? So again, I don't want to piss people off. That's not the point of this video. But I just think that religion has a lot of walls up, kind of defending itself by just saying, oh, you don't understand the context. Oh, you don't understand the history. Oh, you're not a scholar, whatever. But it's just, it's plain as day that the God in the Bible, as described, is just a monster. He's just a monster. And by the way, the way that God talks to people in the Bible, just that sort of authoritarian, this is what you shall do, you shall believe me, or your nipples will bleed, that kind of thing. And you're just like, why? And God is so anal about believing in him and not any other gods. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Like the all-knowing God, the all-pervasive, the owner of reality is going to sit there and say, yeah, don't believe in these other gods. I'm the real God. You got to believe in me or I'm going to smite you. And it's like, but if you're really God, it should be obvious. It shouldn't be this sort of, maybe it's true. So I'll definitely do more videos in the future, especially like about my psychedelic experiences, because those definitely add to, because a psychedelic takes everything you think you know about reality and just shatters it. Shatters every single, even about yourself that you think you know. Gone. And religion goes with that, because as you go through this, it's just like, oh my God, this doesn't seem to be true. And like I said, two sets of issues. The easy issues, which were, scientific errors, supernatural claims, that kind of thing. And then the hard issues, which is the fact that God is condoning slavery and the fact that God is all-knowing, so he knows what will happen, so nobody can be blamed for any of the suffering but God. So again, this video was not at all to piss anybody off. I really want this to be like a discussion. I want to know, like, in the comments, what do you guys think about these issues? What do you believe? What's your take on it? Because, it's an interesting, topic, and I really feel like, especially in today's age with all the information that we have now, I think that is really putting a thorn in religion. Because like I said, if you don't understand things, you say it's God. But once you understand the phenomenon, there's no more God anymore. There's no need for a God. All of the mysteries that we used to think were God turned out not to be God. Turned out to be some other phenomenon. So let me know what you think in the comments below, and subscribe if you want to. And I'll see you in the next video.